The Old Mare, Will She Remember? Written and narrated by Missy, Wryn. After 10 years without a horse, I finally had the property and the means for a horse to live with me instead of boarding. The property I bought was the dump on the block with 4 acres for which my mother cried when she visited, and my dad said, "I wouldn't have paid for this." The outbuildings were in great disrepair, filled to the rafters with goat and chicken manure, while bunnies were loose from scattered hutches. All of that didn't matter to me. I saw the potential of a country home to raise my sons and a place I could have horses at home. It took another 7 years of fixing up the house and property, building a barn, and putting in a fence until finally I had 2 mares delivered to me. Wow, my dream was coming true. My riding style was traditional English, which I took to running the mountain trails just across the street, an added treasure I discovered after buying the property. However, after 2 concussions in one summer from one of my mares, I set out on the path of finding a better way to control her. My greatest problem was stopping her once she bolted into a run. No matter what type of bit, from snaffle and curb to mechanical hackamores and every gadget available, I still could not stop my mare once she was in a run. I hated inflicting pain using painful gadgets and unbearable mouth pressure, all to no end anyways. Obviously, all my traditional training was missing a vital component, so I set out on a quest to learn how I could control my horse. To my amazement, I discovered bitless riding as the best and safest way to control my horse. Sounds nuts, right? Letting your horse ride without a bit. How's it going to give better control than a bit? The answer astonished me. I discovered some valuable communication techniques that, when applied to my horse, she turned and looked at me, dropped her head, and sighed as if to say, "I've been waiting for you to wake up. What would you like me to do?" Whoa, I didn't expect that. I also discovered as I spoke in her language and respected her autonomy, she became compliant and even excited to be with me. This was a horse that would walk off as I entered the pasture, turned her hind end to me when I entered her stall, and basically didn't want anything to do with me. Now she was excited to see me and wanted to go for trail rides to explore the forest and creeks. Many wonderful years were spent running the mountain trails together with only a rope halter and an English saddle. My mare would do flying lead changes on the switchback trails, spin at a dead-end trail, and swim me across rivers and streams, splashing and swishing her wet tail at me. As time went on, however, she began to slow down and become noticeably sore after our rides. She still had many great years ahead of her, but not running mountain trails with me anymore. So I luckily found a wonderful woman whose 11-year-old daughter bonded with my mare, making a great match for both of them. I waved goodbye, brushing away the tears, trying to push away the sentiment that was aching in my heart, with the comforting thoughts that she was in a good home where she would be loved and happily taking care of a sweet young girl. 5 years went by since my old mare had left, when I met a woman at one of my clinics who recognized my mare by a story I told. "I know that horse," the woman said. "She lives down the road from the barn where I board my horse." The woman went on to say she was in great care with the same woman, whose daughter was now 16, but the old mare was used for children's riding lessons as the girl had outgrown the horse. The woman went on to schedule a 1-day intensive with her horse at her barn, which meant I would be traveling to the area so I could visit my old mare. Yahoo! I couldn't wait. The day arrived to see my old mare. The training intensive went great, and finally lunch rolled around so we could go visit the old mare. Will she remember me? I wondered, pushing away embarrassment in the event she didn't. The 2 women chatted as friends as we ventured out behind the barn with the rain drizzling overhead. We found the old girl dozing under a tree in a large paddock. The old mare casually glanced at us when her owner called her by a different name, explaining she had changed it. Then I called her by the name she had for 15 years before I sold her. "Rusty," I shouted softly. "Rusty," I repeated a little louder. The old mare turned her eyes to me, looking puzzled at first, and with a deep, soft voice of recognition, she began to nicker while slowly walking towards me. "Mmm, mmm," Rusty softly nickered. The women were still chatting. then became silent as Rusty approached the fence. I bent down to meet her nose to nose as we exchanged breath in a herd greeting. Time stopped as the silence of deep abiding closeness fell between us, with only the rain drizzling overhead gently. She softly nickered, then walked back to her tree as if to say, "I'm doing well. I love you. Thanks for stopping by." Tears were flowing from all three of us as my heart swelled with thankfulness, knowing she was happy and she remembered. That moment will forever live in my heart, knowing Rusty was the horse that changed the course of my life and horse training, from horse knowledge to horse wisdom. The Old Mare, Will She Remember? Is a Do No Harm production written and narrated by Missy Wryn. For horse training equipment and tack, shop securely online at missywryn.com. If you have a question for me, email info@missywryn.com or call toll-free 888-406-7689.